Please be seated. Well, welcome to today's Member Forum meeting. First, some safety information. I'd like to draw your attention to the emergency evacuation procedure. Is it coming on the screens? Should be on the screens, no? There we are. Please exit the building from the nearest exit and congregate by the cathedral. Full details of the questions submitted to Member Forum and the written replies were published on the Council's website. Groups have submitted their questions in priority order and are presented rotating around the party groups. Each councillor has asked a maximum of 2 questions about one topic or 2 separate questions about 2 different topics. Councillors have a maximum of 2 supplementary questions. If a councillor asks 1 question, they have 1 supplementary. If a councillor asks 2 questions, they can ask 1 supplementary per question asked. So let's start with Green question 1 from Councillor Malik, and the subject is knife crime, and that's to Councillor Williams. Is Councillor Malik here? Thank you. Councillor Malik, you have 2 supplementary should you wish.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you, Stephen Williams, Councillor Stephen Williams, Chair of the Public Health and Communities Committee, for your respective response. As you know, I do have a supplementary question because since publishing the request for answers, there have been several other knife crime and knife associated activity, especially within my ward in Ashley. So what I would like to really ask as a supplementary question is that I understand the Preventive Violence Multi-Agency Board has been established and is going to be working really very soon, but how will members be involved with that, and would members of, interested members that are wanting to be involved, because I know my fellow Councillor Tim Y is also working on trying to bring the Knife Angel into Bristol, so would we also have the opportunity to be involved with that? And secondly, will the adequate resources be available for a solution in this regard? Thank you.
Good afternoon, Lord Mayor. Thank Abdul for his question, his initial question, and his supplementary question. This is, of course, an extraordinarily important issue to communities right across the city, which we all have to take very seriously to deal with the very serious concerns that people will have. And every incident that has happened is an absolute tragedy for the families and the communities. At our policy development day, the committee members did decide this was an area that we all had an interest in. The Director of Public Health is preparing a briefing for me and the committee, which will come to all of us shortly, to look at the different areas that the Public Health and Communities Committee could work on together. So we look forward to receiving that and discussing it with Councillor Malik. Recently I've met with Sally Rowe, the independent chair of the Keeping Bristol Safe Partnership, to discuss these issues. And it is a cross-cutting issue, not just the responsibility of our committee, but Christine Townsend's committee as well, because a lot of these issues, of course, arise in our schools and youth services. And finally, I look forward to working as well with the newly elected Police and Crime Commissioner, Claire Moody, because it's clearly an issue that will involve her as well. So a holistic approach is needed, Lord Mayor, and I assure Councillor Malik we're on it and look forward to working with him.
Councillor Malik, I believe you asked 2 questions at once there, so we'll move on to the next question if that's okay. So that's Labour question 1, Councillor Gogging, on vehicle dwellers, and that's a question for the leader. Councillor Gogging, are you able to ask your 2 supplementaries? Thank you.
Thank you very much, my Lord Mayor. My supplementary questions would be one, you mentioned that the report onto the van dwellers is not policy. Are you going to make it so? And if so, what are you going to do that? And then my second question would be, the enforcement action taken so far appears to be concentrated around the Downs. And I know, as a former chair of the Downs Committee, we get a lot of horrible emails about people using some very pejorative language from a vocal minority, and I want to make sure that or ask really why this area is being targeted when there are more van dwellers in other areas.
Thank you, Paul. So in response to the first question, in terms of when the proposals, the model can be turned into policy, that would need to go to the relevant policy committee. We can chase that up and ask for that to be brought. It is possible for any member on the policy committee to add an item to the agenda. So it is possible for any of us who are on that committee to add an item to the agenda.
Tony, could I just ask, would that be Transport or the Homes and Housing Delivery Committee, do you think?
That's a very good question. I believe it's Homes and Housing, but I'm sure Councillor Parsons will correct me if I'm wrong. So, Barry, I mean, I'm sure you're going to get a request to put something on the agenda very shortly.
Yeah, thanks very much. Thanks, Paul, and thanks for raising this issue as well. I know it's something that's really important to the city, and I know that you've been a real champion for people who are living in vans across our city. So thank you very much. Yes, we have asked for this to come to the Homes and Housing Delivery Committee. It will be coming. We don't have a date set yet for that, but that will mean that you, as a member of that committee, will have an opportunity to really shape that report and shape how we work with van dwellers across the city going forward. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Lib Dem question 1, Councillor Clark on freedom
Andrew, I
of...
didn't...
Sorry, my second question.
No, I responded to his first question,
please
but Paul did have an additional one.
Sorry.
Sorry, Paul. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. There has been a lot of rhetoric, which is not welcome towards particular individuals and particularly minoritized communities across our city. It's something that we are always, and I think everybody in this chamber is committed to challenging. In terms of why this particular group of van dwellers were the focus of this particular action, I'm going to have to come back to you on that because I don't know the complete answer and I don't want to give a false information, but I will commit to responding to you as soon as possible.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So, Councillor Clark, Lib Dem question 1 on freedom of information requests, and that's another question for the leader. You've got 2 supplementaries, Councillor Clark.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. The first one is around, thank you very much for your response, by the way. Obviously, the freedom of information hasn't been dealt with in a timely, an appropriate manner. We have a backlog, which I understand it has been going down. The first question is, do you have any idea when we're likely to be able to get down to some more acceptable, to an acceptable standard with this backlog?
Well, I think the only acceptable standard is a backlog of 0. When we're able to get to that position, I'm unable to state. Obviously, it depends on how many FOI requests you get coming in the first place. What I'm hoping is that the greater level of transparency that you find within the committee model will reduce the demand for FOI requests.
Thank you. My second one is about actually communicating the information back and actually communicating with the policy chairs and the committees around the issues that have been raised. Do you have any policy about communicating this information back at the moment?
At present, if an FOI request comes in and it's with, obviously it depends on what type of FOI request it is. If there's an FOI request about something I as leader have done or information has been requested, and obviously that response will be shared with me or I've been made aware of it. Obviously in some circumstances it may be information that is of a private matter that cannot even be shared with myself, but usually the information will be shared in some way with the appropriate person.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Conservative question 1, Councillor Galandris, and that's on the revenue raising precept, and that's for the leader. 2 supplementaries, Councillor Galandris.
Thank you very much, my Lord Mayor. And Tony, thank you very much for your answers, which are very clear. Very grateful for the clarity of your response. My first supplementary is this. Given the clarity of your response, would I be safe in reassuring my residents that it is unlikely that we're going to see a surtax or precept on the Downs for people who live close to the Downs?
As far as I understand it, that no such proposal has actually been made officially. Obviously, we are in a new type of system that does allow individuals to bring items to the agenda of the relevant policy committee. But any decision to proceed to that will have to go through the decision pathway as you would expect with any decision made by the council.
Thank you. No further supplementaries.
Thank you. Councillor Gooch, as you were mentioned in that question, you do have the right of reply should you wish to exercise that right.
Yes, I'll speak to it. The Tories have left our public services in a state of crisis, and the Downs has not been immune to those cuts. I did mention a putative levy at the recent Downs meeting, owing to the experience of living for some years near Putney Common, which is not dissimilar to our own very much loved Downs, and a levy scheme does operate there for local homes. Officers said that they would look at the scheme. The introduction of any scheme could not happen without a proper consultation process and local approval. The idea was floated as part of a wide-ranging discussion amongst members about how we are going to address the very serious Downs budget shortfall, and all options are being investigated. Sadly, this is a usual Tory scaremongering and one of the main reasons why they were rejected by the voters last Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gooch. Next, we have Green Question 2, Councillor Gemfrey, and that's on fire alarms in residential blocks. That's for Councillor Parsons, and you've got one supplementary.
Yes, thank you. Forgive me for not standing. So I don't think I have any further supplementaries. Councillor Parsons has answered my questions about the Croydon House fire alarm, and I understand a resident meeting is being planned later this month. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cool, thank you very much. So next we have Lib Dem Question 2, that's from Councillor Brown regarding grass cutting, and that's for Councillor Williams, and you've got one supplementary.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. I'd like to ask Councillor Williams if we'd be able to get a schedule of maintenance schedule for different pieces of land within our area, so that we can tell when residents ask us when a piece of land is going to be cut, we can say it's due to be cut by a certain point, rather than having to go to officers and wait on an answer back.
I'd like to thank Councillor Brown for his question. Is a supplementary question. Of course, we're in an ecological emergency. We know we have to change our practices in this area. The Council's got the target of managing 30% of its land for the benefits of ecology and wildlife. I've been in discussions with officers about how we can approach this. Unfortunately, because of the general election period, we've not been able to announce anything yet, but I hope that positive announcements will be made soon. But in the meantime, all members are able to contact their parks area manager to get the schedule of grass cutting, and I'm going to ask the Park Service to tell every member who their parks area manager is, so you know who to approach in order to get that schedule, and we'll arrange for members to be told who they are so they can do that.
Thank you. Conservative Question 2 from Councillor Weston regarding park maintenance. I understand the first question requires a verbal response from Councillor Fodor.
Yes, thank you. And what I would do if I had the script would be say exactly what Councillor Williams has just said, because that's what you were asking, and it's actually a matter for the Public Health and Communities Committee. But as he says, a positive announcement will be made soon.
Councillor Weston, you've got two supplementaries should you wish.
Thank you very much, my Lord Mayor. I appreciate the response to mine and Councillor Brown's questions. Just point out what we're having at the moment is a severe backlog. It looks like the grass mowing machines are actually breaking down, which is leading and exacerbating the problems. When you're having a discussion with the Parks team, can you assure me that they actually do have the equipment required to actually do the mowing to begin with? Because that's, I hear, somewhat important in the whole process. That's a quick supplementary. I have a supplementary question too in a minute.
Well, it should be answered by Councillor Fodor.
Sorry, the main point is that the Public Health and Communities Committee does actually lead on. Yeah, but
Councillor Foda, are you happy to defer to Councillor Williams?
yes, yes, exactly.
Yes, Councillor Wesley is absolutely right. Of course he is, that the equipment needed to cut the grass in the way that it's being cut at the moment will be different to the way, equipment will be needed if we're going to change the way we manage our green spaces in the future. And that's an announcement that I hope we'll be making in due course.
And Councillor Wesley, your second supplementary?
Yeah, and I've no idea who this is going to, so whichever one of you is going to respond to this. Thank you. The supplementary at the moment, the issue of weeds growing out of curbs and out of seemingly every single piece of gravel known to man is not a new thing. This hasn't just appeared. What we seem to have lost the ability of is tackling it, and we've lost the ability in the last 3 or 4 years. I understand you're going to come back on biodiversity and all the rest of it, but I think you probably would agree with me, there's a certain amount of broken window syndrome, that if a place starts to look run down and tatty, people treat it as run down and tatty, and then things exacerbate from that. The points you're making, can you please give me a time frame when we're actually going to see action? Because I fear rain and warmth are going to go hand in hand for several weeks, and that means the grass which is here will be sort of over here.
Sure, thank you. It is difficult to give an exact time frame. That's partly because it is weather dependent and it is in the hands of contractors. So how the contract is implemented and the tackling of those areas and how much has to be done is as I say, weather dependent. I'd just point out one thing, that we get lobbied both for those who would like to see plenty of flowering plants, what you might call weeds, in some streets, some of which are not damaging their annual. And we also get lobbied, as you have done, about keeping streets tidy. And that is a matter for the crews. And there has been a pilot of different ways of keeping them tidy. And one of the options is, in fact, when streets have decided to opt out of the glyphosate spraying regime that the council organises, because they've undertaken to look after their own street. And there is a voluntary scheme where you can apply to the council and the street can opt out, and then the residents can keep as regularly cut as they want. The main thing the council wants to know is it wouldn't grow enough for the annual spraying to take place, and that's for the streets that don't want glyphosate sprayed, as I said. And the council has a commitment to reduce the level of spraying because of the ecological emergency declaration that has been signed by the council and its partners.
Thank you. Green question 3 from Councillor Wells on Bristol Waste. That's also a question for Councillor Fodor. You've got one supplementary, Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Fodor for the clear answer. No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So next we have Labour question 3 from Councillor Renard on Council House building. That's for the leader, and one supplementary.
No supplementary. Thank you for the response.
Thank you very much. Lib Dem question 3, Councillor Brown on fly tipping. Councillor Fodor to answer, one supplementary.
Thank you, Councillor Fodor. I not so much a question as a statement, other than I welcome the response because, and I think the fact that you've had so many questions on this and related topics indicates that there is obviously a real concern, particularly in outer reaches of the city, about the street scene and how it's managed. I'm reassured that there is action being taken on coordinating the responses and making sure that there's one web reporting form rather than individuals having to work out which piece of land is housing land or highways land or whatever before they even report fly tipping. So I'll be monitoring that and seeing how that goes, and fingers crossed it's all effective.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I'll just add, I look forward to that too, and I hope we can arrange a briefing for all members about that so we can explain the improved situation and make sure it does work well, because it has been confusing. Fix My Street is an external app. It's not integrated fully, especially if it's used from a mobile device, not the council website. So I look forward to the new system as well, and I'll make sure we all do get briefed. Thank you.
Thank you. Conservative question 3, Councillor Morris. I don't believe he's here. We'll go on to green question 4, Councillor Hayward on Knoll Library. That's a question for Councillor Williams, and you've got one supplementary. Councillor Hayward here? No. Okay. So Labour question 4, Councillor Clark on Seal, and that's a question for the leader, and you've got one supplementary.
No supplementary, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Conservative question 4, Councillor Eddy on the Regional Spatial Development Strategy. That's for the leader, and you've got two supplementaries, Councillor Eddy.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Can I thank the leader for his considered reply? Clearly, in the circumstances of the election of new government last week, it would be premature to press him about the timescale. However, does he join me that in the event, as we've had last week, of the elevation of the Metro Mayor to Westminster MP, does he fear that decision making may be even slower than it has been to date?
Well, thank you for that question. It's a very subjective response. I think that wherever possible, when people are elected to the Houses of Parliament, they could devote all of their time to that one job, whichever party they come from.
Councillor Eddy, do you have a second supplementary? Next is green question 5, Councillor Freeman on planning enforcement. That's for Councillor Brown, and there's one supplementary.
I have no supplementary questions, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Freeman. Next then is Labour question 5, Councillor Rippington on the safety valve. That's for the leader, and there's one supplementary, Councillor Rippington.
Yeah, thank you, Lord Mayor. Thanks for the answer, although I'm not sure it really gives us a lot of clarity. It seems to say that we don't have any immediate plans to exit the safety valve. Councillor Townsend in particular was very vocal about what a bad deal it was for our city. So I wonder if she could tell us when and why she may have changed her mind on this.
So can I just clarify, Councillor Whippington, you asked a question to a leader, you now want to change that and that a question to one of the other policy committee chairs. I can answer the question very clearly. We have had 2 months to deal with the safety valve. Your party had 8 years. You can wait a bit longer. At the moment, we have just had a new government elected, a government of your party, and what I'm looking forward is with hope that they'll come up with a better solution for how we could tackle high needs education in the city than the previous government. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Green question 6, Conservative question 5, Councillor Hucker on tree management. That's a question for Councillor Williams. You've got one supplementary, Councillor Hucker.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Williams, for your response. I have no supplementary.
Thank you very much. So green question 6, Councillor Wells on walking and cycling diversion. That's a question for Councillor Plowden and one supplementary.
No supplementaries. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much. We go back to Labour question 6 and Councillor Rippington again, pavement parking, and that's another question for the leader and one supplementary, please.
Thank you again. Yeah, it's disappointing no action is planned, although I do welcome the nuance in the response. It is a complicated situation, both legally and in practice. I know, however, that when talking about the Green Party's petition, Councillor Wilcox did say, we want to put traffic regulation law into the city to say you cannot park on the pavements. So I wonder if the Green Party now accepts that the position is more complicated than it was made out to be.
I think there are many things that we have to address as a council that are more complicated than they've been made out to be, and I suspect that will also apply elsewhere. I think all of us, as we are now all decision makers within this council, will have to assess things that we've said before, things that we have said since. We have already seen a U-turn where Labour councillors, having voted for a budget change, have now changed their mind and voted against a budget change in one of the policy committees. I hope there will be a wider acceptance of the fact that we need to have more open and honest discussion about the issues that are faced in this city, and that we should not simply resort to party lines when dealing with those.
Thank you. Conservative question 6, Councillor Hucker, Library Service for Councillor Williams. One supplementary, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Thank you once again, Councillor Williams, for your informative response, and I have no supplementary question.
Thank you. Councillor Gemfrey, Green question 7 on the donut economics, and that's for Councillor Brown, and one supplementary.
Yes, thank you. So, yes, I know about the new economic strategy is under development. I just wondered what the time frame on that was and when we will, just to clarify how that will be sort of viewed by the public, sort of like the process being viewed by the public.
Thank you, Councillor Gemfrey. The process is going to be subject to a task and finish group of the Economy and Skills Committee, and that will be happening over the next few months, and it's due to come to committee later this year. Now, I want to say September or November, but I've not got it in front of me at the moment. But I'll let you know by email. But yeah, later this year, we should have the economic strategy publicised. There has been early engagement already under the previous administration with business and third sector groups across and civic groups across the city. So there's already been a round of public engagement, and yeah, it'll be going through a task and finish group to formalise it.
Thank you very much. Next is Labour question 7, Councillor Durston on the caring economy. That's 2 supplementaries for the leader.
Thanks. Just one question. Thanks for your response, which details the specific services in the council aimed specifically at carers, which are very welcome. I'm just wondering how the leader will ensure from a more strategic perspective that caring as infrastructure is embedded across all the areas of the council.
Thank you, Councillor Durston. I think this is a cost-cutting issue, and even through it will be covered by a particular policy committee. I think this, along with several other matters, is something that does need addressing at a wider issue. So we will be looking at what extra additional work needs to be done in order to properly address the needs of carers and also similar such areas as you have mentioned. And also I would like to stress my appreciation for the work that you have done in this area in the past, even before becoming a councillor.
Councillor Durston, do you have another supplementary? Lovely, thank you. I don't believe Councillor Michelat is here either. Is that correct? Okay. So let's move on to Green question 8, Councillor Crawford on transport issues. That's for Councillor Plowden, and there are 2 supplementary. Not here? Okay, thank you. Conservative question 8, Councillor Udine. Is Councillor Udine here? Nope. Okay, thank you. Green question 9, Councillor Shalababa. Is Councillor... Sorry, I knew I was going to get that one wrong. Shabalala. Is Councillor Shabalala here? No. Okay. So Conservative question 9, Councillor Morris. I don't think Councillor Morris is here either. We might get through all these. So Green question 10, Councillor Stone on the blue badge CAS subject, and that's for Councillor Fodor, and you've got 1 supplementary.
No, I'm happy with the response. Thanks very much. Thanks very much, Councillor Fodor. Thank you.
Thank you. Green question 11, Councillor Stone on fly tipping for Councillor Williams, 1 supplementary.
Yeah, I think my ask was really about contaminated waste, and I think it was discussed in the answer about waste in general. There's a big problem right across the city about actually, building companies or builders actually dumping contaminated waste in our green spaces and commons, and I wanted to know really what is the cost of clearing that up, because it's a huge problem, and I wanted to know whether you had a strategy with the even Somerset Police to actually try and catch these criminals that are making this offence. Thank you.
I thank Councillor Stone for her supplementary. It's quite a technical, detailed question to which I don't have the answer at the top of my head about contaminated waste, so I undertake, Lord Mayor, to write to the member with a considered response.
Thank you very much. Green question, question 12. Is that right? Yes, green question 12, Councillor Freeman on seal funding. That's also for Councillor Williams and one supplementary.
Hi, thank you for the response. One supplementary. Could you confirm that the delay in getting the process started is due to the budget not being included for this process in the previous council budget? Thank you.
I'm yet to be briefed, Lord Mayor, about the intentions going forward for the area committees or beyond, knowing that we've gone from 6 committees resolved by the last Council's committee on committees to go to 9 committees, something which I think makes sense, having looked at the map. What I haven't been briefed about yet is the resource implications of delivering that commitment. I know the Chief Executive might have some ideas on how we do it, but it is something we're aware of. I know that various members, including my Vice Chair of my committee, are concerned that we make progress on this, and we're indeed trying to do so. But yes, there is a resource issue that we do have to resolve in order to deliver that commitment from the Committee on Committees.
Thank you very much. Green question 13, Councillor Townsend on corporate parenting. That's for the leader, and one supplementary, Councillor Townsend.
No, thanks.
Green question 14, Councillor Breyer on vehicle dwellers. There were 2 supplementary questions for Councillor Parsons.
No supplementary questions, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Green question 15, back to Councillor Townsend on planning enforcement, also for Councillor Parsons, one supplementary.
Yeah, I am concerned that there isn't a mechanism for enforcing HMO numbers in Article 4 areas, and I'm still not satisfied with that answer. I'm no further forward 12 months after I first raised this particular landlord, and there's just proliferation, and it's really troubling because these are slums of the future.
Sorry, I'm not sure I had a question in there, Christine. But yeah, I mean, I think we do have an issue with enforcement across the city generally. I mean, there's high demand for enforcement action, and we do have severe resourcing challenges as well. So there's going to be a need for prioritisation going forwards. I mean, I would say enforcement's an unfunded service. It relies on cooperation from the parties who are being enforced against. And so when we don't get that cooperation and we need to go through the courts, that can be quite a lengthy process, which might, I think, account for some of the frustrations that you've been facing. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think Councillor Wilcox is here for Green question 16. Okay. So in that case, that concludes the member forum questions. I'll now take member statements in order of receipt. I remind members that a maximum of 1 minute will be allowed for the presentation of each statement. There will be no debate on the statements, and they will be referred to the leader for consideration. So first, can I ask Councillor Joss Clark to speak to her statement on the Portway CAS signage?
Thank you. I'll make this really quick. I believe that Mark Wright, a previous councillor, Lib Dem councillor, brought this issue up a number of years ago, and I was just looking to the leader of council ask if we could have a look at this issue again and maybe get some better signage at the end of the Portway, because it will save us money ultimately if we can resolve this issue, because if we're taken to tribunals, it's going to cost us a lot of money and it's not good reputationally. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Next, we have Councillor Malik on delays in Muslim funerals. Councillor Malik.
Lord Mayor, thank you, and I thank you, my community members that have come here today to support this statement. I personally been involved with mosque for the last 15 years, and for the last 10 years we've operated a mortuary service, and within that service there has been identified some real issues with not only the coroner's reporting system and the fact that sometimes in an emergency where we would like a quick turnaround, there could be several other cases with the coroners, and there could be a significant delay. The statement addresses most of the issues, but I would also like to say that this is not specifically just a Muslim issue. There will be other people. There is, I know specifically the Jewish community also has the same requirements. And also, we would really like full member support and kind of advice and a united front in trying to come up with a resolution for this problem, because it really does affect people and it's about dignity at death. I thank you for observing the statement and being able to give me this moment to speak on it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Malik. Statement number 3 is from Councillor Makawi on the golden motion.
Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm expressing my strong support for the Greens golden motion, which called for an end to local government austerity and for the which called for an end for the local government austerity and for the new government to invest in our vital public services here in Bristol. Over the past decade, austerity measures have significantly strained our community resources negatively, affecting education, healthcare, public safety, and infrastructure. These cuts have had far-reaching on the quality of life for our residents. By adopting this golden motion, we have the opportunity to call on the new government to reserve this trend. Invest in local public service is essential for seeing thriving, resilient community. It is not merely an expenditure.
Councillor Makari, can you wrap it up, please?
Okay. But a necessary investment in our future enhanced public service will lead to a better outcome in health and education and social welfare. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And finally, Councillor Ralston on Bristol Waste. Is Councillor Ralston here? Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. That concludes the statements and that concludes the meeting. There will be a break and then we'll reconvene at 6 o'clock for full council. Thank you very much, everyone.